If you're going to the bathroom every day but still feel bloated, heavy, or not fully empty, you might still be constipated because frequency is not the same thing as emptying. Hey, I'm Erin Harner, integrative registered dietitian nutritionist, gut health, IBS, and SIBO coach, and this is one of the biggest misconceptions I see. A woman will tell me, I'm not constipated, I go every day. Except when we look closer, the story actually changes. Believe it or not, constipation is not just about how often you go to the bathroom. It's about ease, completeness, comfort, rhythm, stool quality, so many things. You can technically have a bowel movement every single day and still have incomplete evacuation. And this is something especially common in women. So I'd love to share some signs that you still might be constipated even if you have a daily bowel movement. You might notice things like pushing and straining when you go to the bathroom. You might sit there for 10 to 20 minutes waiting for the stool to come out and it just doesn't come out, or it comes out in small bits. Another thing I see pretty commonly is going multiple times. Like, let's say first thing when you wake up, a little bit, and another little bit later, and a little bit later. So you go multiple times instead of one complete full emptying in one go. Your stools might feel like ribbons or thin like a pencil is another sign of incomplete emptying. You might feel like something is still there even when you've just had a bowel movement. And another telltale sign is when you're still bloated even after you go to the bathroom. For many people, bloating will actually subside, gas will subside after they have a bowel movement. But if you're not emptying completely, bloating might still be present even after the bowel movement. The bowel movement won't feel like relief, it'll feel like something's still in there. That last one is huge. If you go to the bathroom and you still feel bloated or distended, that tells us something really important. I also really like to look at the form of the stool. Oftentimes we call this the Bristol stool chart. If you've ever seen the Bristol stool chart, it's arranged from 1 to 7, where a healthy, typical smooth stool is going to look like a 3 or a 4. A 3 has a little bit of cracking. A 4 is like smooth and perfect. If it's small pebbles, it's cracked, it's thin, or it's incomplete, that is not optimal clearance. We want to improve the quality of the stool, and stool form is one way to tell if constipation might be present. We don't want those little pebbles or all those pebbles smushed together into a log. We want smooth sailing. And the stool form can help us understand really what's going on in the gut. And that matters a lot more than I went to the bathroom today. But there are a few common reasons for this pattern. The first thing I see is slow motility. So when we think about slow motility, we think about things are moving through the GI tract. They're just not moving fast enough. And the big misnomer here is that slow motility is often blamed on the colon. The colon is the last place that the stool sits. It's where the stool forms. It's where it exits from, the colon and the rectum. However, constipation and slow motility often occur much further up in the digestive tract. Digestion starts in the brain, it starts in the mouth, it goes down the esophagus into the stomach. And then we have the coordination of the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, and not to mention the accessory organs like the gallbladder, the pancreas, the liver, etc. There's a whole bunch of things happening in there. And if everything's not working properly, pushing the stool and the food through, we have a problem. So this slow motility is where things are moving through, just not efficiently. And what happens in the colon is the stool gets dehydrated. The body sucks the liquid and the water back out of the stool and makes it hard and lumpy and dry, which compounds the problem. So slow motility is certainly the first thing I see. The next thing I see pretty often, especially in women, is pelvic floor coordination issues. So you might be sitting on the toilet. You might even be in a proper position where your knees are up above your hips and you're leaning forward. Great. You might be sitting there for 10 to 20 minutes waiting for the stool to come out, or you might be pushing or straining, but the exit isn't actually relaxing properly. This is a pelvic floor coordination problem. So proper coordination needs to happen in the rectum in order for the stool to come out. So when these muscles are not coordinating properly, we have incomplete emptying. Either the stool's not fully coming out, or it's pinching off too soon, or it's not being allowed out in the first place, creating other problems. So pelvic floor coordination is definitely a challenge and something that's important to address. The third is nervous system tension. If you're rushing, if you're stressed, if you're multitasking, if you're bracing and you're holding your belly all day long, your body doesn't fully relax to eliminate. So allowing the body to be calm, to be relaxed is very, very important to allow for proper stool flow. So if you have a lot of nervous system tension, if your body is in fight, flight, or freeze mode, It's really important to calm the system however we can. There's lots of different strategies to calm the system so that we can relax to have a smooth bowel movement. This is why I say constipation is about clearance. It's not about calendar frequency. I love to see people having daily smooth, soft bowel movements. But if any of these other things are going on, even if you have a bowel movement every day, there still might be constipation present. So I was talking with a new client the other day, and she was telling me everything that was going on. She's having a lot of gas and bloating and just feeling really icky in her gut. But she said, I have daily bowel movements. I don't think constipation is my problem. But here's the thing. She was having 3 little tiny bowel movements in the morning. She was straining. She was pushing. She was feeling super bloated and heavy. Her belly was distended in the evening. And she thought food was the problem. Right? Oftentimes we like to blame food because food is easy. We eat food, we feel worse. Obviously, it's the food. The food wasn't the problem. It was incomplete evacuation and incomplete emptying. Food was moving through too slowly in her GI tract. It was getting stuck and dehydrated in the colon, and then the muscles weren't coordinating properly to let the stool out. So once we addressed rhythm and coordination, her bloating dropped dramatically without adding more fiber or supplements or laxatives. This gets missed pretty often because you go to your doctor and you say, I'm having daily bowel movements, but I'm having all these other problems. If you're going daily, you're fine. So women assume it must be the food. It must be hormones. It must be something else going on. Clearly, it's not constipation. But if you're not fully emptying, pressure is going to build day after day. And that pressure feeds bloating, discomfort, and even reflux in some cases where the stool gets backed up and it pushes on everything else so it just can't move. So the key here really is to address the constipation problem before anything else. So what we actually want to happen is comfortable digestion. 1 comfortable bowel movement a day. Up to 3 would be amazing, but for most people, 1 a day would be amazing, especially early in the morning, first thing when you wake up, or right after breakfast. If you have more bowel movements that are complete and full later in the day, amazing. Minimal straining, so we're not sitting on the toilet pushing and straining. It's relaxed, and afterwards, after you have that bowel movement, a feeling of lightness, a feeling like, I feel so good. If you are experiencing bloating after you have that bowel movement, the bloating gets better. It doesn't stay the same and it doesn't get worse. Also, predictable timing. If we can know when we're going to go, we can plan for it. We can work that time into our day. That's healthy motility. That's rhythm. And that's what I help women establish. So this is why adding in more fiber doesn't always fix the constipation problem, and sometimes actually makes it worse because we're adding more fuel to the fire. If we're already backed up, adding more fiber is actually just going to make us more backed up, not help get things moving. So if the system isn't clearing properly, more bulk can actually increase the pressure. We have to look at movement, coordination, and rhythm all together and in the right order, in the right sequence. So yes, you can poop every day and still be constipated. And if this sounds like you are not crazy. You've been measuring the wrong thing. If you want help understanding your specific pattern, what direction makes sense next, take my gut clarity quiz. I've linked it below. It'll help you connect the dots. And if this was helpful, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.